Yeah, something.
Who is it?
Let me know if my mom's made it.
Get started. People on Zoom, Lindsay, Greg, we're ready to stream on YouTube. Hello, good evening, happy Monday. Lindsay is a little under the weather today, so you have second string. I'm so excited. And we might have some folks coming over from the Bound Crossing Library. Sorry about the duplicative locations. We were trying to keep you on your toes. But we'll go ahead and get started, and if folks trickle in, that's totally fun. First, I want to introduce Rachel. We've been hyping up Rachel's arrival for the last few months, and she's now been with the city for a month, fresh out of graduate school from Harvard, and she's committed to implementing this project. So we're excited to have her on board, and this is her full focus. So we're excited to be able to have somebody to dedicate to that full time. Our agenda for today, this is the welcome, and you filled out your W-9. Did you grab one?
I did.
It's right over here. Yeah, Rachel will get you one. Fill that out, turn it into Chelsea, please, before you leave today. If not, we can.
Money for something?
For you, we'll get a small stipend for your time with us.
How many zeros?
Last year. Just one. Just
Where's
the one.
the decimal place? Zeros.
So yeah, please fill that out before you go today. If you're not able to, we will hunt you down or find us later. And then we'll do an update on what we expect Q2 to look like. In our last meeting, the time we spent together was really productive. We really liked all the ideas everyone had. So we want to be able to do that again and show you what the plans are for Q2 of the quarterly challenges that we're doing. The theme for that is going to be water. I'll go through those. And then Rachel will talk through the website updates and program launch, and then we'll be done. So I'll just go ahead and roll right into, but I don't know why that's there. A refresher on what it is. The quarterly themes for the year are based on priority area, October through December. That's right now. We're already beginning to plan the launch for waste and consumption, and that will be bingo. January through March, we're going to focus on water and have all water-based activities, and I'll go into a little bit more of that in a moment. April through June, transportation. July through September, buildings and energy. So this will amplify opportunities that already exist in the community and then add new ones like kind of the concepts we were coming up with last time. Here are some examples of what those months could look like, using our first waste and consumption quarter as an example. Providing a volunteer opportunity, a new event, Science on Tap in November. We're going to try to gear people towards those, whatever our monthly thing is. And then in December, a Curbit Awards mixer. So meet the folks who won a Curbit 2025 award and be able to learn from them. Our challenge will be Curbit Bingo. Like I said, the cards will be released later this month. So hopefully you guys can all participate in that and be eligible to win a prize. And then an incentive, one of the incentives we'll offer for completing that bingo is zero waste kits that we'll raffle off at events once you've participated in the bingo and fill out your bingo card. And we're doing a partnership with Roots Zero Waste Market for that. That comes from a lot of the feedback from you all, amplifying what's already in the community and the people who do this really great work. Looking ahead to the programming for water in the upcoming quarter. Our volunteer day will be with the River Enhancement Network or at Boise Basin. We'll do Science on Tap with a panel of water stakeholders to touch on different topics related to water. Our challenge will be to attend 6 of the 8 WaterWise classes and receive a free landscaping consult. And incentives, we're going to partner with Veolia to give away low flow shower heads and faucet aerators. And then we'll have a celebration for World Water Day on March 22nd with the watershed. Any questions? Oops. Comments on those things? Yes, Casey.
Who's gonna do your consults? Do you have somebody on staff who does the WaterWise consults for land homeowners?
I don't know.
It's the data, water and soil conservation, I believe.
They're gonna be providing that?
So, or whoever they can partner with. They said they have somebody.
They already do a bunch of classes, right?
That's exactly.
Candidates on.
Right, but they don't, I'm on their board, and they do not have anybody on staff who would do those consults. But we did just talk about at the last meeting about partnering with CWI horticulture students to do landscape consults, and I was just curious if that actually.
Yeah, sorry, what is it called? I'm just correct.
College
CWI.
of Western Idaho horticulture students
Okay.
who are learning how to do
might
landscape
be.
design and water wise, they become certified in
We're
quality efficient, water efficient landscaping.
totally, I think, this is Alex's baby, Alex.
Okay.
Sends her regrets, cause kids don't have daycare today. I'm working with her on this, we're planning this out now. I wrote that down. And that's a good idea. I think they had, I don't know, when we talked to Ada County Soil and Water, they told us that there's a partnership that they're working, I don't know if that's.
Maybe that was all
Maybe that's.
all at the same time, yeah.
But the idea was just kind of linking directly what people are learning with like, okay, this is an expensive thing that you would be able to implement. And if you come to a lot of them, we can just give it to you.
Cool.
Any other questions or comments, ideas to expand anything?
I just a question, it's like the science on tap, panel of water, stakeholders. What does that mean? It's a how do you get access to that? Is that for,
It's an informal gathering at a brewery that's already hosted with a group of Boise State professors, and we partnered with them to extend it into our topic area for the month or quarter water.
okay. So it's just open to the public event.
And people find out about it through our.
Through our channels. We will go into the website updates.
Sure. Very on time, yeah. Hello. I'm Rachel, as Bree mentioned, I usually like to walk around and stuff, but my ankle is sprained, so that's why I'm like sitting and sitting funny. So I'm gonna sit here so that it feels like I'm standing. It's nice to meet you all. I recently graduated with my master's degree in urban planning, with a focus on environment, climate, and health. So I'm really excited to be here for 2 years, which is really exciting. So you'll get a taste of what I've been up to in my first month, and I'm looking forward to getting your feedback and getting to know you all better. And apologies that I'm coming in and this is like your third to last meeting, but hopefully I'll be able to carry out the program. Okay, so just to frame this discussion, the main feedback that the team has received from this group so far is that we want a way to be able to create an individualized action plan for somebody in terms of how they might take some climate actions, new ideas, and ideally have that be community focused or have that be challenge based. So our teams have spent, and I've coordinated with a bunch of different climate teams, some time thinking about what are these individualized actions that would comprise an action plan. And so that's what I'm going to be hopefully running by you right now and seeing your reactions to. So the idea would be that these would be both on the general climate action Keep Boise Cool website. And based on somebody's interest or commitment level, as we've discussed, they would get an individualized plan from all of these. So this, as of right now, we have about 90 actions that are different permutations of all of these things. So now I kind of want to just get your feedback on, I'm going to pose 3 of them to you. 3 of 90 is not many, but hopefully it's a representative sample of what this feels like, what the flavor is, and you can react to it. So I have a sense of how we might want to move forward with them. This all makes sense so far. Okay, great. So I'm going to pass out a worksheet.
Why don't I pass that out for you?
Bree's going to pass out a worksheet and I will take the clicker. And I'm just going to show you while she's doing that, the first sample action. And I'm going to read this one out loud. The last 1 or 2, I want you to read. I'm not going to read it out loud because the way people are usually going to digest this is like on a website or on an app, like by themselves. So I want to see how it's like for you reading it on your own. But let's look at sample action 1. So sample action 1. It's a keep it simple, so it's the first level, it's something that you might do introductory, you don't have a high level of commitment at this time, this is something you can start to do to get involved in climate action. And we break them out by categories based on the different priority areas that the city has. So this first action that I'm presenting to you is to keep it simple for buildings and energy. And the action is, and this is should correspond with what you have on your worksheet. When your light bulb goes out, replace it with an LED bulb. And I'll mention now on your worksheet, please feel free to write on them, circle things, cross things out, etc. Because I would love your feedback. Okay, then for each action, we've broken them up into here's how. So how might somebody start taking that action? If you've never heard of this before, you don't know what it is. So stores have LED bulbs readily available, or better yet, many second-hand stores in Boise have them too, for a fraction of the price of buying them new. So that's a way that you might start to approach replacing an LED bulb. And then there's the why. We heard a lot, or I watched all of the recordings of this committee up until now, lots of hours of listening to your beautiful voices. And it was helpful because I understood that people don't only want to know what their individual actions are, but they want to know what the city's doing. And they want to know how their action fits into what the city's doing, or what their action fits into like larger emissions goals or problems in the city, the state, the country. Okay, in this case, LEDs are 90% more efficient than bulbs. Maybe this needs to be than regular bulbs. By using LED, you'll save energy and be able to go longer without replacing your bulbs. Idaho Power has more information about LED bulbs. Okay, this little last part. For each action, they're going to have at least one resource that's going to help them achieve the action, or help them learn more about the action, or help them contextualize why the action is important to begin with. In this case, there's not really much, like I'd have to link to them like how to buy an LED bulb. So in this case, it's just other things that maybe they can do to save energy to extend their impact, or tips and resources for lighting, if that's something they've done passionate for.
Is it easy to make the resource Idaho Power 30 things to save energy a link?
Yeah, that's exactly, this is just not a link because this is
Yeah.
an image, but either it's gonna just be on the bottom, it's gonna be kind of laid out like this. So the action is gonna be on the website, and the idea is when you click on the action, or you click on an arrow in the action, all of these things come down. And and so this will either be linked just directly to the Idaho Power has more information, and you click on those words, or it will be a separate resource. We're not sure the technicalities of that yet, but they'd get there. So if you look at your worksheet, if you have any feedback, notes, maybe you want to remind me that this should say by using
Regular bulbs, I'll remind you.
yeah, whatever. There's little check boxes. If you can just indicate how you're feeling really straightforwardly about that, you can check more than one, or you can annotate it, whatever you want. Okay. How are we feeling about this? What are your thoughts? Yes.
Start with the facts, and I know you want to keep it simple, but at the same time, they'll change light bulbs, they change fixtures, there's different types of lights that aren't light bulbs, you know, like the ceiling ones that, you know, so. Can you have a second bullet or broaden it out, you know, replace your light bulb, or think LED when you replace lighting fixtures, lighting set lights, or something like that? Because a lot of our lighting isn't just light bulbs anymore.
Right.
And most of it's all LED available anyway, but at least give people, a lot of times if you get a little more specialized in your lighting, that's where you stop and you don't go over. You don't think about the savings.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so I don't know whether under your action you can actually, you know, have it broader or better.
Right.
And I wonder if there's a resource that helps you stylishly
Right.
use your
That's exactly
LED
it.
bulbs, because a lot of people don't use them because they're darn ugly.
And it can be more stylish.
Yeah.
You know, but.
We have to redesign.
Yeah.
So something to this effect too, this keep it simple, and then the category of buildings and energy is just the very baseline level. So maybe if we were going into the next level, which is it step it up?
Yes.
Then maybe when we go into step it up.
That would be, yeah, a little hard.
And I guess where I'm going is I don't know how it'll present itself, so to keep it simple, but how you can embed the link to where the next question, well, it's not a light bulb, it's this, you know, or it's lighting.
Yeah.
You know, or keep your lighting simple and then.
Right.
Show how you keep it simple.
Sometimes for some of these too, there's good feedback for, sometimes in some of these, the here's how, I'll have like a sentence of how you might extend. Like if you like, you know, once you've replaced all of your LED bulbs, consider your fixtures.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's good feedback.
Like helping move people forward, but step it up.
Yeah, the keep it simple is really meant to be like, I've never done this before. What's like one thing I can do to start learning about this?
What's the climate
Yeah,
base level?
yeah, or there's things that I can do to like be more efficient in my house, wow. But totally agree. Okay, yes,
Same out for like the here's why, it might be, so we talked about framing under like, what is the city doing? Of sort of saying like the city is replaced, I'm sure they've kept track of how many they've replaced. Saying replace this amount, saved X amount of energy or saved X amount of money, if you have any of those numbers. It's like a more helpful, kind of like putting in either dollars or in terms of efficiency of like how much the city is saved. And also think like it with the here's why of sort of naming, like it has like your bulbs last longer, but also naming like it's cheaper in the long run. And it might be like framing under what the city's done as a way to,
I mean,
cost savings.
potentially, I love your comments, I mean, potentially on almost everything. Or at least, you know, where it applies, but I'm thinking it'd be majority, it could almost be its own bullet. By the way, what's the city of Boise doing on this topic?
Separate it out.
I'm also, so I've had to write a few user guides for things before, and it can be tricky when you have so many like small chunks of information to keep them all impactful and meaningful to people. Similar to what Ryan is saying, I think making sure like this is good information. If I am either a really burned out person who cares and I'm just jumping back into it, this is for me. Or if I'm just getting started for the first time, this is for me. And either way, I don't quite get, how does this actually help a problem so big?
Yeah.
So I think giving people a little bit of perspective and like a why this matters. And not assuming that people understand, like LEDs are 90% more efficient, that's great. But like, what can I actually achieve if I replace all of them? What does it mean?
Like what percent of energy use in your home is lights or that kind of thing?
Yeah, or like if I turn off my second monitor that I use, how much am I saving? Stuff like that. Someone once told me that you could make one piece of toast for every minute you spend with a monitor on, and I was like, that's so much toast. And I've never forgotten.
We have talked about that throughout this process, to how we could find some kind of memorable measurement like that. One, even ideally, that's Boise specific, but it's tricky on some. That's such a great idea.
So I haven't dug into it, but I know Idaho Power does offer incentives for low income people for like light bulbs and so on. So maybe as a resource, it's a quick link right there, because if someone happens to look into the light bulbs and sees the here and why, but then they say, hey, I may qualify for this at a lower income. And they also do other things with weatherization and electrification.
that's actually, I got that one.
So.
Chelsea, is there a question on
We've
that?
got a question in the chat.
Okay.
How do small impacts like this one lead to bigger impact?
Yeah.
I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Literally just.
Yeah, I guess I was curious, like, cause that was my feedback too, but I was curious, like, how do they get to this page? Like, have they already, there's some bigger impact kind of page that has gotten them here first, so they've potentially already had the download of why energy
Yeah.
savings and consumption is important, and then they come here, cause that's what I keep
The
getting.
answer is both.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you for asking that, because ideally, our quarterly challenges are a way that can feed into directing people to our website. And then on the Keep Boise Cool website, you'll have a like, here's what Keep Boise Cool is, here's why we're doing it. Take our little questionnaire and you can get served these actions in a custom plan, or you can just scroll through them yourselves if you already know, I'm interested in building synergy and I want to keep it simple. But ideally, we're gonna be able to match people with their actions. So when she says there are 90 actions like this, those are all things that are gonna feed into somebody's custom plan based on what they have filled out. Like, I'm a homeowner, I can't ride a bike, or whatever it is that will help populate based on the actions. So we're gonna, on the back end, be tagging all of these with what will trigger this to be in a report, if that makes sense, or an action plan.
And that's another thing to keep in mind too, when we're talking about like a fixture versus a light bulb, is this would be for anyone. Fixture, I don't, a renter, that would be a little overwhelming to get. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So this is like, this specifically is for anyone. There's some, which you'll see in a second, that go specifically for homeowners, for example. Somebody would also be able to access this if they haven't filled out their climate action plan. That's also ideal, just like if they haven't done it yet and they click on energy, they could be presented with this. This is like a baseline copy for something that might eventually go on a flyer if we're doing an energy or anything.
But
But
overall, this is the
generally
framework
what Bree said.
that we're gonna use for the actions, basic action, how, why, resources. And then all be under the keep it simple, step it up, or whatever the other one, lead the way. Yeah. Do you wanna go on to the next one?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm gonna ask, I'm happy to speak out, but I'm gonna give like 3 minutes for this one, and then we'll do 3 minutes for the other one. For you to read it, because the way most people will be digesting this is not from me reading it to you. So I'd love you to get that experience. And then let's just say 5, and like, I'll give you like quiet time for like 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll chat about this one and then also this one briefly. Yeah. 5 minutes? Yep. Setting a timer.
No, I was just looking at time.
Okay, good.
We're on the clock.
We are. Set a timer. Gonna put the other one on the big screen, switch it up. less than a minute. No pressure. E. Thank you for doing that. If anyone wants to share reactions, feedback, etc. about the last two. I know the first one was definitely less complex than the other two. So I'll just point out some key things about the other one. So we were just discussing the first one was in that keep it simple category. So the second one was in the step it up category under the natural environment and water priority areas. And it would only come up if you're a homeowner. The last one is in lead the way, and it's under the transportation priority area. And that's the only restrictions we had for that one. So what came up for numbers 2 or 3, or in general?
I think you're missing an opportunity by not talking about seeds in addition to plants. Because they're readily available for native. So it's cheaper.
Seeds are a great option. Also, I really appreciated how on this one, you were so specific. There are a lot of people who like, I probably complained about this here before. Virtually every seed mix that says Idaho native has California poppies in it.
Yeah.
Those are weeds. That absolutely kills me, and they are invasive. But being very specific about what is native and what is not. Also, if you wanted to go above and beyond, like having a short list or saying like, this company makes an Idaho native seed blend and you can buy it for $10. That gets a little tricky with like government connecting directly to business, but if there's any way to simplify that and just say like, this seed mix works.
Can you link to like the Idaho MK Nature Center that does their native plants?
Anything public, most nonprofits. As of right now, we're figuring that out.
There are probably some, like heirloom, I think Seed Savers might be one. There are probably nonprofits that could supply seeds that you could partner with for that.
Yeah, where I ran into issues on this one, this is pretty complex. Actually very complex depending what you're trying to do, so the availability of resources and whether it's another link where that was into some of the issues just relating to seeds, relating to dealing with irrigation, the different options of the drip irrigations and things you need to watch out for. Just replacing lawn and what type of landscaping material. I mean, a lot of times you just see, just a lot of rock and there's issues with that. You know, so that's the only thing I would say, somehow you have to delve into it more. Provide resources through subject matter experts that people think are good to help guide people along the way. And I know we can't advertise for some businesses, and that's part of the issue. Unless there was a program where you have city certification and then.
And anybody could do it.
Master gardeners.
Yeah, master gardener, but it's not an easy thing to do.
I think this one is awesome, but I think like kind of what we're hearing here is this action in and of itself could have a keep it simple, step it up, lead the way. Like it could be everything from just like try to keep native pollinators in your garden all the way to you should spend $15,000 completely overhauling your lawn so it's completely xeriscaped. So maybe I think
the challenge would be trying to figure out a way to supply resources without overwhelming somebody who is just trying to like at the bottom scale of step it up, who knows how to buy a light bulb but doesn't feel comfortable like completely overhauling all of their landscaping.
I think that's helpful context too for us is of these 90 actions like this that are drafted. For example, this is a good example of one that we have a version that's less than this, and we have a version that's more than this. So that's good for you. The more than this version is not, there's no or, it's replace your lawn, and I think it's completely, they're escaping it. Yeah, so that's the more than lawn, more than it is get rid of your entire lawn, period. Yeah, and I think the resources, you get more resources and you get more of. But that answers your question, I hope a little
And
bit.
that will run, and that'll be included as well.
If you have expressed desire for the lead the way category. Correct, yes. I imagine too, there would be a landing page where you could, as I said before, like you could browse them. So if one of them is too simple, you could probably click back and be like, oh, that's too much for me. You could see them all and decide. It will be a little redundant, but Elaine.
I think there is, so it sounds like this one might be a tiny bit advanced for step it up. And that's something like this team is very capable, the city's very capable of maybe like making that a little bit simpler. I also think that there's an opportunity for a different category on this one for biodiversity or wildlife. People love critters and giving them a chance to like advocate for that and show kind of like the meaning and the why. For me is very similar on this one to the last one, like this would be hard to find, but worth it if possible. Like 10 square feet of habitat can support up to 500 bugs and 10 birds.
That is hard to, I've tried quantifying that before.
I bet.
Everyone's always like, you're wrong, like, oh. So specific, yes.
So on the quantification theme, the note I had on this one is, it would be really cool if you could put some quantification of, what percent of water use reduction could someone expect if they pour out traditional lawn, grass, and replaced it with xeriscaping and native plants. It's a very real issue that hits home with me, and that I'm on in the development that I live in, the neighborhood I live in. All the landscaping is controlled by the HOA. I'm on the HOA board, and we actually want to do some of this to reduce our water bill. And because it's a board and it's all the homeowners' money,
Right.
we have to be very business-like, that there's a definite ROI and how, what would be the payback. And we kind of stuck on it right now because we're having trouble, quantifying. But I think a lot of homeowners might think about it that way.
I think we've been careful. I know there was a mention before about the money saving. We've been careful not to promise people things.
Yeah.
Coming from the city's resource, but it's a good point. Like you may save money on your water bill.
There's buffering right
Any
there.
studies that you could reference or?
Yeah.
Or some wide range or something, but.
Right. Yes, Ryan.
Yeah, it was in two things. One of, I think, sort of with this similar to the other one, instead of saying like this is how much money you could save, it's a way to talk about like what the city's done and saying like, here's how much we've saved by doing these actions. And then you're not promising good things to people. And I'd say the other thing for this is one of the things that I've heard from people who are like trying to change over their whole garden is they don't know what it's supposed to look like. They don't really understand like conceptually what xeriscaping looks like. And so naming in here, like in the resources, there's the like one over the nature center and like on the green belt that's next to the golf course. I think it's like city owned, like native plants, or out of the botanical garden, like putting those resources, like take a bike trip out and like see these places to see like what it looks like. A lot of people want to see native plants and pick out the ones that they actually like and want to see in their yard. So giving people some sort of like physical place they can go to see what this is supposed to look like.
I'm kind of hesitant to be spotlighting like city savings purely because I don't want people to think that we are of the mind that, look, we already do all of these things so great. When we have many areas we can improve in these. But I think it does make sense for certain ones and to be able to show like, this is what it looks like at these city facilities and if you wanted to check it out.
Yes, and then also we have feedback on I noticed we've been specific about the native pollinator one, but we can also talk about this one. I'm sorry, I can't see your name tag, so I'm not gonna call you by your name.
No, it's back at the garden one.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
You know, I look at it. Feeds on the other comments. To me, like, even for a step it up action, you may just want to be very specific and say, create a pollinator garden.
Sure.
Separate things out, because otherwise, all of a sudden you have a garden plus xeriscaping plus this, and it just becomes too much and maybe lead that to the highest category. But even if you're doing pieces, you could still construct a plan where a person could have a pollinator garden, xeriscaping and so on. And then you can have specific results, and make them a little easier to read and show that it can identify the specific resource.
Yeah. So like I'll go back. Pull these things
They're two
apart.
separate.
Yeah, your action would be create a pollinator garden,
Right.
and it wouldn't be native garden or native lawn or so on. That'd be a different action for the gardening standpoint. So then you could say very specifically, here's how, and here's why. And it becomes targeted. Each is very targeted, so it's very clear for the person to understand. And then you can tie very clearly to the resources. And there's overlap, I realize. You could say xeriscape to reduce water, and then you can show the different.
Seconded.
That's what it is.
And then maybe the lead the way would be replace all of your landscaping with any
Yeah.
combination of things. Yeah.
A combination, but even under the water and homeowner, you could have multiple step it up actions. And the person could see these different pieces and they could do one or they could do many,
Yeah, absolutely. I saw Casey first.
So, yeah, and I think there's a lot there with just turf management. Like if people, a pretty simple action there is just mulching your grass clippings versus bagging them. That increases water holding capacity, and then also just like reprogramming your irrigation clock to make so your lawn
You
uses
got that
less. Okay, and then there is pretty good drought tolerant turf out there. People are still thinking about if we're talking water conservation and not habitat. I put a bunch of resources on here too, but I think that the thing that I run into, because I've been in that world for a long time, is that, folks don't know what it takes, and so to do that, and so to be able to provide a link to a basic resource that says, if you wanted to replace your landscaping with a xeriscape, here's what you can expect. Here's what you can expect in terms of the actual process of doing it. Here's what you can expect in terms of cost. Here's what you can expect in terms of ongoing maintenance. That is not necessarily less than what you're currently doing. In fact, it's usually more. So just like kind of giving people a kind of a basic framework that would be really helpful just from the landscaper side of things because that's just, you're fielding the same questions over and over and over again as a landscaper, like I want no maintenance. I want to get rid of my lawns. How many maintenance? It's like, good Lord. Like that machine that we all use is like way less maintenance than you out there trimming off, whatever, weeding and whatever. So to have I think just giving some basics would be nice. And I think you could engage, there's several entities you could engage to get a document like that together that the city could provide, that would be, public entities, the community college, the master gardener program, that kind of thing. Like there is good resources out there that wouldn't be like one specific business doing it.
Yeah, in the HOA land, it's a real struggle, just getting people to realize that if they would water deeper, less frequently, and mow less frequently, it's unrelenting mowing every week, you gotta. Right, all the grass, and then how you can gradually seed in with a more drought resistant grass, so you can still have your lawn. But there's this cycle too of half the herbicide, half the fertilizer and so on, but just water deeper can make a huge difference in water use.
I think we're gonna skip the last one just to save on time. If you have any roaring feedback, we have been going back and forth about how to do the advocacy ones. The ones that are like, they're hard, but they're important, so it's like, and also we're not sure what we can and can't promote, or there's a lot of complexities in that. If you have feedback, feel free to write it there. But we're gonna skip it just for now in the interest of time to talk about the second half of this session, which is very important too, and how it's somewhere what we think you could really help us a lot and help me especially as a new person here. So we're gonna talk about what a successful program launch looks like. And when we say program, we mean the whole thing, not just the website, like all of the programs, the challenges, the whatever we've been talking about this whole time. So we're going to be future focused now, thinking about what do we actually want to accomplish, as what do you want the city to accomplish, or what do you want this group to accomplish? And we'll be defining success, and we'll be defining how we know success is happening. So we're zooming out. So I'm gonna ask you to get in groups of 2 or 3, and these tables have done us the beautiful favor of that. I think it's gonna be perfect. You'll be 3 and then 2, and then you can decide how you want to do that with your tables. And we're going to in each pair or 3, we're gonna envision a successful launch. In your pairs, you'll be chatting about this. And here's the prompt. So we're addressing that first question. What does a successful program launch look like? Here's the question. It's June or July, summer of 2026, 6 months from now-ish. Or not now, 6 months from when we're launching this program. So it's summer 2026. A newspaper is covering the program's success. What is the headline? And between you and your pair, you're gonna imagine what the headline, June 2026, is of this program. Which is a fun way of thinking about it. If you don't want to entertain my funny way of framing it, you can also just one major successful thing that you hope to see from this
One
program.
sentence, because it's a headline still.
It's a headline, so it's quick. So what are they saying? So your group is gonna come up with a headline. There should be enough whiteboards and or these just white papers that I pasted to the wall for your group to write your headline nice and big. We're gonna do this pretty quick. This is gonna be an 8-minute opportunity to brainstorm with your group and then to write your headline somewhere on a whiteboard or a piece of paper on the wall. I will give you a 5-minute, 3-minute, so you have time to write. Is everyone clear on this? Okay. Go ahead. Sorry. I wanna start with someone
Yeah.
They do.
That's really put on the table on this.
Yeah. That would be hilarious.
Boise.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah.
Position us for.
It's gotta get beyond.
Power, and so.
Like they-
How many people checked out the website? And if they're voting.
Yeah.
Success, recommendation Boise, like, so they put lunch, like, I don't know, or did they actually spend time?
Showing up.
That's one of the things that you can look at the website here, how many people came to it? Because, if that's true. And then how long did they stay there? You know, like, check it out, you bounce around. Back there, so, yeah.
And it should, you got lunches to get it. When does it start?
I was like, see, yeah, working to.
I'm separate for engagement.
Yeah.
To the city. Like, you know. For the collective action problem, sorry.
That's all. Yeah, first. You haven't released that. But even if it's. Something like that, something quick. Ideally make it. That's trying to find my.
5 minutes, Marty.
Success is why people use it.
That is, like, that's, it's 6 months of age.
Yeah, like they either like Boise was like.
And newspaper writing and.
You should have thrown it.
You didn't know where that one was. Don't give me until like second in the front or like.
Yeah, I noticed it.
How about if we just keep it simple?
Public works, like, second check.
We probably have.
Boise neighborhood.
Like June, July.
Anything that he already has is, so he was just gonna wanna split it like. we're
Yeah.
on the table.
You know what, Demi Lovato's.
Pull it down.
City of Boise, personal collective, they engage citizens.
Yeah, how do you reach?
Or like, find out like.
You want us to just write it up here now?
Yes.
I don't know.
Nice to meet you.
Wordsmith.
Or that'll be important for part 2.
There's enough.
If
you can just give that.
Yeah, saying like this many people over the bus. It's like kids.
And do we use this many people that
I like it. Yeah. I'm gonna spread.
Okay, I think my.
I like it a lot.
Like.
Your Honor, respect.
Yes. The government's your handlers, but. No.
Or I guess it's something.
In the face of ecological challenge.
There's a little over 2 minutes. If you haven't started writing your headline.
The successful, well, I don't agree with it, that's so much to me, it's like, well, what will be, if you're looking at segmentation of policy. What can you measure? There's not a lot of, you can measure who's showing up, really about that engagement. Everyone start tracking around and be like, oh, they put an API card in, but this guy should be.
Or it's like.
I'm not great, right?
Inspired to change, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it all falls apart.
And there are, I feel like there are ways where a number of them, like saying like this many people have requested to find out power.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like this many people
That's-
know, like,
that's
whatever
your handwriting,
application,
that's easier.
what application, this many people requested a change.
Boise looks to the future by building a coalition.
Something.
Little over 1 minute, or should be at least 5 of these.
Yeah.
Maybe they're.
That's a good way to do it.
Nominated you.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, Boise.
I have, why don't we?
It's like Boise looks to the future by Collective engagement without.
Yeah. Like good. I like when everyone. I like smooth smiling.
It's okay.
Bigger on that.
Or just put it over there, just plain, just plain.
So she makes size.
So either way, but if you were bigger, that would be easier to. Got it.
I have to go to school. Yeah. I go to. Hello, this.
Like basically that.
And you do it.
Yes.
That's okay. It's okay if there's some, I think that's.
Well, all of mine are similar in both.
Well,
Success.
we're not very good journalists.
That's okay.
I heard a lot of words.
Words.
It makes that collective action.
I mean, that is different than what they said.
Well, both of them are writing.
Our time is up, but I will wait for the writer.
Keep going, keep going.
Yeah, keep writing.
Did you, that guy with his map, right? Yeah, he's a really nice guy. I don't know, that's not.
John.
Okay.
Redhead.
Hello.
John fixed it.
Good way to get in touch. That was.
We're gonna do part 2 of this
Yeah,
activity.
so part 2 gets even better and it's gonna involve you getting to get out of your seats a little bit. So if you can take a stack of stickies or just a few stickies, to walk around the room with, you're going to take a look at each of these, there's 5 headlines. You don't have to do every single one of them, but I would say at least 3 of your favorite ones. I want you to write 3 of your favorite ones, or you could just do 3 post-it notes. I want you to write how we know this is true. So how do we show that this headline is true? And that's how we might measure success. So I'll give you some ideas of how you might answer that. What do we see? What are we hearing about? How do we know? And what can we count or measure, if any of them stick out? So some obvious ones might be the number of participants, feedback, media coverage, maybe new partnerships, new policies. You can take any of the ones I just said, but put them on the headline. Yeah, so you might be thinking about numbers, you might be thinking about sentiment, you might be thinking about partnerships. But then I don't, you tell me.
Or maybe you want us to capture real data, like it's 10 degrees cooler in
Yeah,
Boise. I
could
don't
be
know.
that.
If that is one of the metrics you want to use, we would figure it out.
10 degrees, 10 tons of trash.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you wanna walk around and put them up.
Yeah. Something.
It's like when you say that, it's like a dangerous change.
Okay, so just start top 3.
Yep, yeah.
Just like our civic being, it's like a zero.
That's not.
Wait, so I'm sorry, we are coming on what we like about it or what you want to see?
No, how we would know that's true.
Oh, yeah, alright.
So that's the basic way of thinking about this. How do we know this is true? And you can think about that in terms of numbers, in terms of feedback, in terms of something you see, something you hear, experience. It could be, yeah.
Oh. Whoa.
If anyone's confused, please do feel free to ask. Other people are probably also confused.
Record engagement.
Oh, it's.
Oh, we lost that one.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't hear
So that's
that.
your involvement. Right.
I'm gonna read this one out loud because it's small. Boise community is keeping it cool for the summer as they reach halfway point for climate action.
This one.
I'm not sure. All I'm saying, what are you talking about? Okay. One of the things I get what extra, but I don't know if you know. Right. Yeah, okay. Got it. Okay. Got some neighbors near there, I'm kind of working them. Not voting for that, is it? Why?
Guess for people writing, I'm like looking at some of these, is there something you want the city to be counting or measuring, like something, not just the people involved? I'm just gonna throw that out there. We kind of,
Be like website use.
if it's website use or it's like the city implements a new policy. Is it,
We're
I'm
gonna
just
whale
throwing
the
it out
trash.
there.
We're gonna-
I'm just throwing that out there, cause a lot of people are saying you're good, like, you know, people are engaged, people are clicking on the website, but is there something you wish the city was doing? Like, how do we know if it's the city incentivizing people to do this,
That's an interesting question.
throwing it out there?
And you're speaking specifically about the city engaging residents, not the city doing their own action.
Yeah, but, or is the city doing something to facilitate it?
Like, could we somehow know that there's 20% more food waste in the compost? People are doing a better job of composting their food.
Or the
Something
city
that's-
has or even the city has implemented some sort of new policy based on people being engaged, right? People are engaged, so they're
Like apartment composting is now, curbside apartment composting is now happening because.
because people have been advocating for, that's the.
Yeah.
You're welcome to add more, that inspired you.
Maybe and
Or you're not sure, that's also fine.
Sure, well, here's the. Which.
It can be a little abstract if you don't know all the tools we have available, but if, in a dream world,
My wife just wants the orange spades more available, she goes the
orange bags everywhere, orange bags at the restaurant, I don't know, that could be.
I read, my wife accounts on Twitter. Messages me like every day.
Okay,
Still have an issue. Same.
I see people still writing.
I don't know, like the 13th Street. Yeah, my house back where I was in a huge Nebraska sign. It's the same
First should be
sign.
reconsider it.
Yeah, it's just down here, like, yeah, it's part of the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just make it a more.
Oh, you're out of here.
Yeah, bye, everybody.
Yeah. I'll shout this one out. This is a good example of what I meant. Boise is selected as the most bikeable place to live. Wow.
The most what?
Bikeable.
Like full place.
Well, like that is Jane.
That'd be good.
Amsterdam.
Open read.
Council, I mean, it's not-
The headliner, which is the new Amsterdam. Anyway, second Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Yeah, what thing?
Second Amsterdam. We can't get away with that.
That's written.
Yeah.
What a great memory you have.
This guy's.
I already have
It
it.
is. Just for you, that's all right.
Maybe we're so large.
Flashing. So
I actually have a
waste
question.
management and then water as a transportation, this is a serious one, is that right?
July through September, buildings and energy.
Yeah, that's good. July to September, I think is building and energy. And transportation is, we're thinking and is May and ocean.
I think that's right.
That exists. We tried our best to align it, and then doing building and energy during the summer was like something. Okay, it seems like most people have put up their post-its, so I'm gonna walk to each one and just do some highlights. But this is just we have a little bit of time for discussion before we need to wrap up, so. If there's certain things that stood out to you, or like something that you put up for a certain one and you wanna highlight it, or you thought. Feel free, but I'll just go around and do that. So we have Boise neighbors inspired to keep Boise cool. A lot of stuff on here about neighborhood associations, so that's helpful. For us to know. But is there anybody who put something on here that they felt really strong about and wants to share?
I think the purpose of our putting that up there was to, success would involve engaging neighbors, specifically through neighborhood associations.
I think what's helpful for me to see here, and that is the word, somebody wrote the word camaraderie. And that's something that I've felt a lot getting up to speed on this, is that a lot of this is about engaging people, like more than climate action in some ways, is to get people in community with each other doing something positive. So I appreciate seeing. Any other reactions before I hobble over to the next one? Yeah, my ankle's really.
Why don't I just?
No, I wanna see it. Sorry.
No game.
Boise community is keeping it cool for the summer as they reach their halfway point for the climate action campaign. How do we measure halfway? That is an excellent question, because ideally this will launch and there might be a year kind of launch of programming, but that this would continue to be a city initiative. So halfway, maybe it's launching here. Next question. Anybody else wanna highlight or have any questions? Yes.
It's just one of the nuance of having a halfway point. I know it's for the launch, but you don't want to imply like this has got an end point to the program. The campaign needs to continually build forever and sustain itself, so just be cautious about putting some kind of an end point thing on it.
I'd say this year's climate goals are halfway. Is it, are they on like an annual basis?
I think balancing achievement with needing to achieve more.
Maybe like a, or like a little dash. What is it actually? Public demands more.
Put a question mark about halfway. Yeah. Okay, keep it cool. Boise's climate program launches with record engagement. Lots of questions about participants. So measuring participants, that's the easy one that we've been thinking of, is just getting, like, figuring out how many people we have involved in month one, how many people we have involved in month two. Is the challenge or program that we're presenting the events attracting people to month 2 to 3, you know, and so on, is it building? So that's helpful to see. Number of visits to the website, we're looking into that. Feedback survey, yeah, what do you wanna highlight?
Our group talked a little bit about like the feedback survey, because you don't want just like, I mean, it's good that people would engage even if they're just downloading it and like not doing anything, because at least they're kind of thinking about it. But you wanna know how many people are actually following it, because they can put it up on their fridge and then like not touch it. I don't know if this is for the launch or this is later on down the road, but when we very first started here, you all showed us the like the carbon neutral by 2050 goal.
Yeah.
So I think just having some way that we like tie people's individual participation in with this bigger goal feels important to me. And I don't know if that's a part of the launch, because that's kind of a bold, that's a big thing to ask when you're talking about launch. Exactly. But you know, by the end of the year, maybe we could have something like that where, you know, where there was a way that we could see that our, you know, the individual actions were leading up to something that was a much bigger community initiative.
Kind of in line with that, I think there's a lot of opportunity, I'm not gonna call it easy. But maintaining program data and planning ahead as we're developing this tool, as you are developing this tool. To be able to track or like check boxes and say like, I actually did this thing.
Yeah.
So that we know roughly like how many acres of habitat have been created and, you know, basically the program data like you're describing. I think that can be really impactful when overlaid with other kinds of data.
Yeah.
It gives lots of flexibility and also allows us to plug into the larger goals.
I'll do a quick plug next month, you guys will probably all get bingo cards, ways and consumption bingo cards and share and encourage your networks to do. And part of the reason we did bingo is because it's easy to track which actions people took. So like, you know, if it's the third one down on B and 80 people did that and then thousands of people did a different one, we know kind of what's attracting people to.
Nice.
So I think that's kind of what you mean, and we can say like 1,000 people went zero waste for 3 days in Boise in this period, and that might be. Yes, and not a total nerd. But longitudinal data.
Yeah.
Like planning on how can we collect comparable data over like weeks, months, years to see how this is, like what is the arc of engagement long term? And you can't do that for everything because that's a lot of work. But strategically, I think it would be really valuable to set that at the beginning. Can you explain what you mean by longitudinal data in this context, like an example? Yeah, like let's say Boise is voted most bikeable city in the US. Or in the world, suck in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
The longitudinal data is going to track how and when we get there. So like how many people are engaging in policy and then 2 years later, does that impact actual miles of infrastructure? So the like, right, like in point in time, kind of like people doing this here on March and then what does it look like in February and go backwards like that again.
That is a lot of, I've said this so many times because it really is a lot of work.
I mean,
and
throw
I do
everything out.
figure out. But as far as an impactful plan goes, like that actually shows implementation. You are.
I was over here, so you
You go for it.
didn't have to be. Thousands of Boiseans take bold climate action to keep Boise cool. And I'm gonna read some of the ones that I caught my eye on here. Utility companies like Veolia, Idaho Power, and Mountain Gas are seeing record inquiries about reducing energy and oil consumption. Very achievable.
That's a really good.
We could totally do that. That's great. Tuna and Ready take photos. Adopt Boise's campaign. Yes, and we've been working with our neighboring cities. Describing the types of bold actions that people have taken. That's interesting. Maybe spotlighting, lifting up some of the actions people have taken that aren't on there or that or on their neighborhood to do.
Stories.
Yeah, stories collection. Users will check actions that they have taken on the secret website. Yes, we're gonna be able to do that. Oh, who specifically, seeing if it's a wide range of participants, not just homeowners, so trying to gauge how we're getting a ratio of homeowner to renter. Move on to this one. Keep Boise Cool rallies thousands to support climate community engagement. The number of EV parking permits has increased X%. Counts of compost has increased by X%, right? Number of unique website visits, number of citizens engaged, testimonies. This is a common theme, the stories. I love that you guys are thinking that way. Key events are sold out or at capacity. And then City of Boise climate page is seeing high traffic that is increasing monthly, not stagnating. This person has fantastic handwriting. That's very impressive. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we're good. We're good on this one. Thanks, y'all. This was so helpful. I hope this, like, I hope, do you feel like we've understood or are beginning to understand what you hope this looks like and what success would look like for you? Hope you feel heard.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is that clear to me, because we say we're already started, October to December is waste and recycling. Wouldn't know how to tell my neighbor how to access the information that we've talked about.
Yeah, so here's how we are planning to roll out. We're planning this first quarter to be just the challenge. And then in all of our messaging, we're saying this is the first of what's to come, launching Boise Cool January, or Keep Boise Cool January 2026. So it'll be like a soft launch, and then in January, we'll do a big, like, we're gonna do these quarterly actions like you saw a little bit last quarter, and we're gonna have the website out there, and then we'll have a bunch of promotional events and opportunities for people to learn. Maybe we could even do some open houses, like for people to come and
That would be
do it together.
There would be some good media, I mean, traditional.
Well, we're gonna try,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of PR.
Yeah.
I think our rationale on starting like what we're calling a soft launch now is that the city already does a lot of things and we just want to be almost an umbrella that puts it all in one spot. So I think what's going on now is we're just uplifting things that are already going on, starting to softly brand them in a way so that once January hits, we can be like, look at all the things that we're starting to do. I will say that soft launch hasn't even fully, this is gonna be the first thing. So if you wanna get involved or.
How are you socializing that?
This
This will be on our in the know newsletter and our regular.
I can't speak to that. Do you know?
Yeah, it'll be in the know newsletter and our regular channels for people to get involved. We'll send it out to you all, of course.
When you send it. I'm not a good social media user,
Email it, we will
but
email it out.
when you send it, yeah, obviously, please, for the love of God, send it in email. But will you give us a link if you do have a social media posts that you have made about, will you put those in the email so that if I'm led all the way there, I can manage to share your post on my page, but I have to get led all the way there.
Yes, we'll make sure you get through. Yeah. Our next committee meeting is November 10th, 2025. That is the day before Veterans Day, which some folks might have off. So if you do have that off and you're planning to be somewhere for a long weekend, just let us know ahead of time. And if there are a bunch of folks out, we might consider moving it for that month. But just get in touch with us if you know you have plans. Sign up for the volunteer opportunity with Rolling Tomato. You can use this QR code and we'll send it out in our meeting recap as well. So you can be geared right to it. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
If you're still holding on to your W-9, just go ahead and bring it over to me. Okay.
So I don't think.
You know what? We'll follow with you separately since